City Clerk, please call roll.
Mayor Steve Gander.
Here.
Council President Mark Olsted.
Here.
Council Vice President Chad Grassel.
Here.
Council Members Clarence Vedder.
Here.
Dale Helms.
Here.
Tim Riopel.
Here.
Tim Johnson.
Here.
Mark Demers.
Present.
Does term quorum please stand for, oh, excuse me. I missed the order.
We can do the
Sorry.
pledge first. It's fine.
Okay, we'll do the pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I should have looked at it first, Megan, sorry. Not used to that. We're going to have a presentation, Mayor, of the plaque for Chief Larson. If you want to come up, Mr. Larson, please.
On over here, boss. First, I want to say you and I have had a great relationship in my 3+ years as mayor. I'm honored to serve alongside of you within this city in the area of fire protection. I've been invited over on multiple occasions to take part in some firehouse chili and also the camaraderie that happens over there, but also to observe firsthand the readiness that we have to protect our community medically, for those calls that we make, and for fire protection. It's been a good season under your care as our fire chief, from a point of adding equipment that we've needed timely, the great relationships that we've had with the townships, all the training that our folks have received, all the technology that you've implemented, and also the improvement in response time that's helped out our rating, even to our insurance. And so I just can't say thank you enough for all the good that you've done over all these years of service as our fire chief, and even in the years before in the rank and file inside the fire department. I hope you look back and are really proud of what you've accomplished, what you've given to our community, protecting us, and the training and the good relations that you've had inside your organization. And so, please let me present to you this plaque which reads, Life Connected East Grand Forks, Minnesota, City of East Grand Forks, presented with our respect and appreciation to Fire Chief Gary Larson for over 30 years of dedication and service to the City of East Grand Forks and surrounding townships, October 1989 to January 2020. And there you go. Congratulations. Thank you. Yeah.
It doesn't seem like 30 years. It's gone by relatively fast. A lot of individuals don't get to find their dream job in life, and I think I was able to do that. I've seen a lot of people come and go, but working for councils that support public safety and encourage it, it makes the job a lot easier and go. So thank you all for that. That's been a big thing for us, and I hope it continues for many years. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Congratulations.
Move on to the open forum. An opportunity for members of the public to address City Council on items not on the current agenda. Items requiring council action may be deferred to staff, boards, and commissions for research and future council agendas if appropriate. And we'd like to address the council this time that items not on the agenda, please come up forward to do so now. I see none. Approval of minutes for regular meeting minute of East Grand Forks for January 7th, 2020, work session of January 14th, 2020.
Move.
Moved by Demers.
Second.
Second by Vedder. Any questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Riopel.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Olsted.
Yes.
Grassel.
Yes.
Demers.
Yes.
Vedder.
Yes.
Helms.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Scheduled deadlines, there is none. Scheduled public hearing, there is none. Consent agenda. Items under the consent agenda will be adopted with one motion. However, councils may request individual items to be pulled from the consent agenda for discussion and action if they choose. Any council member like 3 through 9 pulled? I see none. Entertain a motion of 3 through 9, please.
Move on 3 through 9.
Moved by Demers.
Second.
Second by Riopel. Any questions or discussion? I See none, roll call, please.
Riepel?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Olsted?
Yes.
Grassel?
Yes.
Demers?
Yes.
Vetter?
Yes.
Helms?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Acknowledge our receipt of reports, officer, boards, and commissions. Regular meeting minutes of Water, Light, Power, and Building Commission for December 18th, 2019. And for the organizational meeting minutes for January 2nd, 2020. Communication, there's none. Old business, there is none. New business, number 11, consider adopting resolution 2-01-11, supporting the authority to impose local sales tax to fund specific capital improvements, providing regional benefit, to establish the duration of the tax and the revenue to be raised by the tax, and to authorize the city to issue bonds supported by the sales tax revenue.
Move. Second.
Moved by Grassel, second by Demers. Any questions or discussion? I want to make a comment, I guess, first, and this process right now, the way we have to do it now is different from when we prior did it with the sales tax with the pool, just to make sure everybody's has an understanding. The state changed how we have to do this. We have to go through a process of sending information to them, a resolution stating that we, as a city, want to do a sales tax, and they have to go through the process of approving that down at state legislators this session, and then give us the permission to go in and ask for a vote to the citizens. Before, it was the exact opposite. They urged us to have the vote before we asked them for the approval down at the state level. So it's different. It was changed, I think it was last session. It was changed, so we have to go through a different process. So we are moving forward with looking at what we need to do and how we need to do it to see where we're setting it up. We're going to have meetings from now until, I think, August 4th. We have to have a final resolution down to them to what wording we're going to have on the ballot. From now until then, we are going to hold public meetings. The park board is going to set up meetings to be held throughout the city with everybody invited to make their comments, to discuss it, to have many conversations of what we need as a community, what we need in each facility, or what we don't need, ideas. So this is a process that we are going through that is different than what we had to do in the past. So I just want to make sure everybody's on the understanding of how we have to go about doing this now. We would love to make sure that everybody knows when these meetings are, when they can come and give their input, to have the discussion, to let us know what their feelings are. So that's my comments. I just wanted to start out with that. So if anybody else has any comments at this time or questions. Mayor.
I'm thankful to be right where we are in this process. We have the swimming pool sales tax ending at just the right time. We know we have some challenges at our ice arenas with regard to making ice, and we don't know when the compressors will just suddenly stop and we won't be able to make ice anymore. Along with that, we have certain other ADA issues and locker room situations and whatnot. And so we're on top of it. I know there was some thought that there's been some pretty extensive deferred maintenance here and there throughout the city. That just really isn't true. It might have been true 10 years or 5 years ago, but we do have a really nice program in place for building maintenance. Nancy Ellis keeps track of our buildings around the city and prioritizes capital improvements as they're needed. So really we have the luxury now of zeroing in on our ice arenas and doing them up right. And please know, we're going to work on a plan here. You're going to hear an approval probably for a 30-year sales tax at 2% approved here tonight. I believe that's what's going to happen. But internally, we're still sorting out, is that going to be a 1% or a 2%? Is that going to be a 15-year or a 30-year or anywhere in that range? Internally, over the months to follow, we're going to be sorting all of that out. And you've watched us interact through these last years. We get along fine. You know, we can butt heads on issues and really try to sort out what's the right thing to do, but the respect always carries through. And so we'll take these months, and we need your input, of course. It's your dollars that we're spending. And we'll go through a process then to drill down to what we need to do for these projects. Again, 2%, 1%, 15-year, 30-year. We'll sort that all out through a process that's public information, and glad to have you all right there at the table with us. But again, please know the city's in good shape. You know, where we had trouble with the police department and roof leaking and all of these different things, it's all been sorted out. It's all been well taken care of. The city buildings are in good repair, and we have this luxury now of just zeroing in on setting up the ice arenas probably for the next 20 to 30 years for our kids and our grandkids. Thanks.
Anybody else? Mr. Holmes.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say it's great to see so many people here tonight. It's not very often that happens. It's a big issue. I know that. We know that. The issue that comes in front of me, though, is, as the mayor said, we're talking a 25, 30-year commitment here. It's going to really tie us up for a long time. I think that we can probably do the same thing, close to the same thing with what we have if we just put some money into it and fix them up. There's no reason it can't happen, and do it a lot cheaper. What's in front of us here is, in my book, is sugar-coated pretty heavily, and that bothers me. So that's my opinion.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments from the council? Anybody like to come up and make comments? If you do, make sure you state your name and your address if you want to.
I'm Robert Sauter. I live at 537th Avenue Southeast. The way I'm not a hockey person, so the hockey arenas won't benefit me or my family in any way. But the repurposing of the VFW arena will be a huge step to helping out our youth sports. My kid just finished going through the youth football program we have in town, and towards the end of the year, with our climate, it's obviously tough to get practices in, and having an indoor facility for them to practice in with some turf would be great. My other interest is wrestling. We're always looking for space. Currently we have one mat, we have 65 kids. If we could get on board with this project some way, somehow, and that's part of the future discussions, obviously, it'd be huge for our wrestling in the community. So I think this project will benefit young families. It'll be attractive to them when they're looking for a community to move into. If we have a facility like this in East Grand Forks or Grand Forks, it'll benefit us that way too. So that's what I have to say about it. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Like I said, if you don't want to come up tonight, we're going to have plenty of time. We're going to have plenty of meetings. So if you don't want to come up tonight, I understand. But just let you know that there will be plenty of time for people to voice their opinion. If you do want to come up, just make sure you state your name and your address, and we'll go from there. So if anybody does.
Hi, my name is Brian Larson. I live at a hot mic here, 834 13th Street Southeast. I'm also a member of the East Grand Forks Park and Rec Commission. Just a quick background on me. I grew up in a rural area and attended school here in East Grand Forks. Throughout my youth, I was really actively involved in all the sports and recreation as I could be for someone that grew up nearly 20 miles from town. I recall many great instances, or I recall many instances of, as a country kid, really wishing that I lived here in East Grand Forks so that I would have access to our skating rinks, the pool, the library, playgrounds, and other amenities that are available here in town. So fast forward 20 years later, had the opportunity to move back home, and we chose to live in East Grand Forks so that, you know, my young kids would kind of have the same access to these wonderful amenities here in East Grand Forks. Our parks, our skating rinks, the greenway, the list really goes on. And East Grand Forks really offered my family and I the right balance here of a small town community with these great amenities that keep our children actively involved in healthy pastimes, youth soccer, other activities that were just mentioned by the previous speaker. So, living in East Grand Forks was a really easy choice for me, and I can tell you from speaking from other people that live here in East Grand Forks that you have a very passionate population here that really cares about our hometown. We really support each other, and we're willing to put in the hard work here to make these future investments successful for the long run. We all have East Side pride, as we say. So to address the subject matter at hand today, I am strongly suggesting that our elected city leaders vote to allow the East Grand Forks Arena project to proceed to a ballot measure in order to allow the citizens of East Grand Forks the ability to determine the future of our recreational facilities here in our city. And in closing, and I just want to state that I highly respect all the roles and responsibilities that all of our elected officials have taken on here. But I believe that in this instance, the proper course of action is to empower the people of East Grand Forks to make our own decisions regarding how our tax money will be spent. We're fortunate enough to live in a country where we each have a vote, and I'm requesting that my vote, either for or against this arena project, is counted come November. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Is there anybody else that wants to speak at this time?
Good evening. I'm David Fagerland. I live at 1109 21st Street, Northwest in East Grand Forks. And I've prepared a statement here opposing the moving forward for this resolution. And I'd just like to express my concern of this massive spending our city is going to try to sell to the residents of East Grand Forks. It's happened before. It got voted down. You guys went around. The people who wanted it went to the power company, got the money, and did it anyway. Now, I see where you guys here are going the right direction, having the people come in here, voice their opinions. Okay. I've been following the papers and news reports about the upgrade needed for our recreational facilities in and around our community, wanting to spend 25 to 30 million now, because you realize that maybe deferring some maintenance costs from year to year resulted in an overwhelming situation of panic in those who realized what had happened. We see it across the river. I'm seeing it here. Deferring maintenance doesn't do anything but make your facilities obsolete. And for those who want all new facilities, that's fine and dandy. When the flood came through, you had the opportunity. Okay, a lot of stuff got built. That's because it had to be. Okay, federal government helped with it. State governments helped with it. In my experience of being a businessman, earmarking annual maintenance expenses is a part of budgeting for the annual maintenance costs. I realize in the real world there are unforeseeable matters that come about, but that needs to have a safety net built in to cover these expenses too. I think you guys all realize that. I'm all for building infrastructure and repairing existing properties and building new what we have outgrown in our current facilities. Making a suggestion of spending $30+ million to build new rather than repair old is not being frugal to spending other people's money. Using a 2% sales tax is a method of generating revenue. I agree. But that's a lot of money. That's a lot of percentage. By going from 8.125% to 10.125%, Where am I going to buy my stuff? Probably go across the river. Now I realize that this other pool money that you guys are collecting a 1% on is going to sunset. Okay, so that makes it 9% okay, but that's still too much. Have you ever wondered why commerce is not booming on this side of the river? People don't want to pay that sales tax. Okay, but I realize that we have a good thing going here with our eateries and our places that sportsman places to purchase things. People are going to come here and do that anyway. That's fine. But car dealers, they move out of here. Machinery dealerships move out of here. Shopco moved out of here. We're lucky we were able to get a motel, but that has a different taxing system. Okay. Now, I'm not saying we should be competing with Grand Forks on any of this stuff. However, if we cannot try to compete with it, you're just saying no to anybody wanting to come here to shop with that amount of sales tax. I recommend updating existing facilities with budgeted expenditures and put forth an effort to raise private money to be matched by state or federal grants and stay within the confines of what can be raised. Having a long-range plan for a want list is what progress is built on. But plan for it. I heard about this thing 3 months ago, and you guys want to have a vote on it now. You guys haven't even thought about it. You know, I was raised like wants and needs. If you want something, plan for it. If you need something, spend it. Find a way to pay for it. Okay? Now, having a knee-jerk reaction to cover up inadequacies of planning commissions and city leaders is only going to kick the can down the road. Excuse me here. For someone else to fix at a later date. Now, we all probably think that's happened in the past. I mean, people have been kicking this down the road, and you want to fix it now. And I'm not against fixing it and getting it done. But let's think about it. I would like to see you guys table this, not throw it away for another 6 months and put together your resources that you could do by doing some footwork, getting somebody to plan, check out what's available there in grants and whatnot. Maybe that's already been done. I don't want to say it hasn't been because I don't know. But I would like to see you guys think about it and then get your wants separated from your needs and go from there. The paper that I read when I first heard this, they needed a $10,000 repair in a hockey arena, which that happens. And it may have been 40 years old, okay? And you may need to replace the whole system, okay? I don't think you need to tear down the whole building to do that. Now there's talk of adding another sheet of ice, okay? Why tear down something that could be repaired and use this year while we're planning for saving up money to get a new facility, all right? And have this as a 25-year plan, just as your sales tax has a 25-year plan. Now, having a 2% sales tax in this town for 25 years, I can't see a lot of growth that's going to happen in the business sector. And that's all I'd like to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
President.
Mayor.
Mr. Fagerlund, I can assure you that every time we discuss this, your concerns will be in that room, okay?
Thank you.
I can assure you there are members of this body right here who share all of those concerns. They will be weighed against all the pros and cons on this thing. Please know that.
And I realize that. We got a competent bunch of people here, okay? But sometimes what it looks like to the public,
Yeah.
like me reading the exponent for the Grand Forks Herald now this week, oh, wow, how long have they been thinking about this?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe they've been thinking about it for years and years and years. I don't know, but I'm just Joe Public here. So,
And my invitation, and I do thank you, it's easy to come in and when something's going in the right direction to kind of pile on and say, yeah, I want that. But if you have that voice of dissent or that voice of, whoa, let's just tap the brakes here and rethink this a little bit, it's not as easy to do that. And so we want to hear the whole thing. You know, everybody in favor of it, everybody who has the concern. As you say, we're spending your money. And again, we appreciate the good turnout here, the engagement. This is actually, we look forward to this, to see the process working the way that it should, the community members engaged.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else at this time? I see none. Oh, Mr. Demers.
Oh, Lisa's.
Lisa, are you coming up? You have a comment then after that?
Just.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Lisa Brown. I live at 2225 9th Street Southeast. And my concern is that if this does not go through, we don't have a chance to decide as citizens and people of East Grand Forks of what we want to do. I think what could happen is something breaks down and we don't have any money to work with, and then it goes on our property taxes. So I do believe that this has to go through, and then we let the citizens decide how we want to use money and how much money we're going to spend and how we're going to spend it. And I think at this point too, a lot of people are not understanding the whole picture of it, that this vote needs to go through so that we can decide how much money we want to spend and how that property or sales tax will affect the city of East Grand Forks, so that it's through a sales tax and not a property tax. And without this going through, we don't have that. And I think that's a big misconception of the public, that if this goes through, that it's for sure 2%. That's not true. It can go up to 2% from my understanding. It does not mean that we have to spend the whole 2%. So that's where we need all of the citizens who would like a say in this to come forward after this goes through tonight and put a plan together, a plan that fits our community and our region so that we can all benefit from it. And that is best supported by a sales tax, since we all use the activities. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Demers.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to say, for clarification, there's nothing in plans right now to tear down the Civic Center. It will stay there. The current plan is to build an addition onto that and then repurpose the VFW into an all-purpose facility. So it might be said that we're adding a sheet of ice, but we would have the same number of sheets as what we currently have. And that was by design. Just like I said, and this isn't a completely new project where we're building from the ground up, and it's not exactly just a rehab project. I guess kind of in the light of what happened down in St. Paul. They had the St. Paul Civic Center. I don't think anybody would say that that's exactly the same building, but it's certainly not a different building either. And that's kind of what I think we're trying to do with some of these things, is repurpose our current facilities, make them as good and as functional and useful as we can within the best budget that we can, understanding those things. The mayor said that you do have a voice up here, that there is concerns. I'm one of the biggest proponents, or have been one of the biggest proponents for this, and in the back of my head I have these same concerns, and I don't think anybody up here does it. I think 30 years is a long time. We've all said that it's a lot of money to commit ourselves to, and I don't think anybody wants to proceed with this haphazardly. I think, but going forward tonight, if we do, I don't think that that's haphazard. I think, as Ben explained, it's part of the process moving forward. I think we can't even get to the narrowing down until we get through this process. But going forward, one of my fears besides this, and I might differ from the mayor a little bit on this, is that I don't believe that this is just an arena project. I believe that it's almost got to be all of these projects or none. There's one of them in there that I don't necessarily think is maybe pertinent to it, but I think unless you get all these communities in support of this, I think it stands a real chance of not happening for any of them. If you lose people that are in support of the baseball facility, that chops away some of the support. If you lose the folks that are in the recreational trails, the boating facilities type thing, I think you lose a big chunk of the people. And I think for this type of thing, this type of huge project for East Grand Forks, I think we need everybody on board. And that's kind of why first it was structured this way. We understood that, like the mayor said, we've come a long way with our deferred maintenance. We've really put a lot of money and effort and time into building our facilities back and keeping them in the condition they should, except for our recreational facilities have really suffered in this community. And I think we understand that, and trying to get these all done is, in my opinion, it's a now problem. It isn't a 25-year down the road problem. I think, and I don't know if Carla wants to talk to it, I think there is some staging planned in that. Like we talked about, you'd stage out some of these projects possibly. Some of them might not start for 5 or 6 years, depending on funding, or I don't know. But again, I just want people to know that I think that if you kind of start chopping this project up and just make it an arena project, I don't know if it's going to pass the general election. I know. So, like I said, go forward. There's a lot of work left to do on it. Look for all kinds of input ways, and this doesn't preclude us from going out and getting additional bonding, grants, private donations, all those other things either. Like I said, we need to put that bar out there of what we can raise through this revenue stream, and if that's what the people decide, if that's what the legislature decides is all right, which it might not be. It would put us at the very top edge of what the state tax, the city's local sales taxes are around the state, so maybe the legislature will tell us no. But again, and we understand your concerns as far as, building up the park and rec facilities at the detriment of the business community. I don't think anybody wants to do that either, but I would say that it's more complex than just a couple percentages here or there that dictate where people shop. And I believe that there is probably a threshold where people just say no, but we know that in East Grand Forks we've had a 6.5% advantage on clothing forever, and you don't see clothing outlets come to East Grand Forks. So even 6.5% isn't enough for some reason to get some commerce going back and forth. So it is a complicated thing. We do not want to make it an impossible hurdle for people to come over here, but we also understand that there's way more to it. I think when you talk about the eateries and all those type of things, I guess they're never more full than when there's events in town. Go around and watch. I mean, you go to the big arena across the river, and whenever there's events in town, that's when everybody's there. So I look at this not only as a park and rec thing, but as an economic development tool as well. So I said I'd be brief, sorry.
Mark, you sparked my thoughts.
Here we go.
Mr. Demers, and that is really part of this process. Whatever comes out of tonight, which we probably know what's coming out of tonight, we have this window of 6, 7, 8 months to also fundraise. And that fundraising could go on even for a couple or 3 years from right now forward. I wouldn't be surprised, and we'll be really intentional about it. Probably everyone in this room will have something to do with it. A lot of it's going to be corporate. It's going to be naming rights. It's going to be sponsorships. You know, all the same stuff that we've seen on big venues that come along. I believe we can do that, and it would not surprise me to see $4 to $6 million in sponsorships come in between the naming rights and all the rest of it. So please know we're going to give this process plenty of time for that to happen. And of course, that's a direct offset to the sales tax. Whatever the project would have been, whatever sales tax would have been necessary, this will come right off of that. And so keep your ear to the rail, and you may be one of the foot soldiers out there to help with that fundraising effort. I'm sure there'll be a committee. It'll meet regularly, and there'll be some good guidance from the top down of folks who've been successful fundraising in the past. You know, even if we got to bring a consultant in for that, that would be our plan. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, if no one else, any comments? We'll go to a vote. Okay, roll call, please.
Riepel,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Olsted,
Yes.
Grassel,
Yes.
Demers,
Yes.
Better,
Yes.
Helms.
No.
Motion is carried. Move on to claims. Number 12, consider authorizing the city administrator clerk treasurer to issue payment of recommended bills and payroll.
Move. Second.
Moved by Johnson, second by Demers. Roll call, please.
Riepel,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Olsted,
Yes.
Grassel,
Yes.
Demers,
Yes.
Better,
Yes.
Helms.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Mayor Gander.
Just one more thing. Most of us in this room know that former Mayor Lynn Staus has had some health issues of late. Please keep him in your prayers if he comes to mind, and consider the good that he's done for our community through all the years. If you have a friendship with him, would like to reach out to him, I understand he is back home now and trying to regain some strength. And so again, please keep former Mayor Staus in your prayers, and know that he's in a valiant fight right now, health-wise, and our thoughts are with him. Thanks.
Mr. Better.
I don't have anything, thank you.
Mr. Helms.
Nothing, thanks.
Mr. Riepel.
Nothing.
Mr. Johnson.
Well, the only comment I can make is if we're going to the bones on this thing, let's make it a wishbone. But whatever the people want, they can have. Thank you.
Mr. Demers.
Nothing to follow.
Mr. Grasso.
Nothing for me.
I just want to appreciate everybody coming tonight, and make sure that you look out. We'll make sure we get everything out on social media when meetings are going to be. Keep the word going. Just make sure that everybody has the opportunity to make sure their voices are heard. So just keep on the lookout for that, Mr. Grasso.
One more thing. Just a thank you to Chief Larson. Thank you for your years of service and being open. I know sometimes you had to sit through some things that you didn't like to see all the time, but we do appreciate your effort and what you did for East Grand Forks. So thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
I guess the only thing I have is I wanted to state my appreciation for Chief Larson as well. The last 6 years that I've worked here, he's made it very easy to work with the emergency management portion of it. I will truly miss him, and I pushed off that Suburban as long as I could because I knew he wasn't going to retire until he got it. So we tried to keep it there. That's all I have.
Mr. Emery.
I have nothing.
Anything from department heads? I see none. Entertain motion to adjourn. Moved by Grasso, second by Demers. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried.